What is good, YouTube? My name is Demiros and welcome back to the Martial Consulting channel. In today's video, I want to talk with you about some concepts you can basically use to start thinking like a seven-figure dojo owner, basically, which is hopefully your goal. And if you're already there, then you can use these concepts to think like an eight-figure, or if you're already there, use these concepts to think like a nine-figure dojo owner. If you're already there, use these concepts to think like a 10-figure dojo owner. Although I think there are not that many 10-figure dojo owners. I don't know, I might be wrong. Anyways, it's a story for another day. Let's get started. So the basic answer from this video is start thinking long term. So whatever you do, start thinking long term. I think I've mentioned this already in like a previous video. But basically whatever action you take business wise, just think about the long term consequences of it. So if you think about changing something in your dojo, think about how it would affect your dojo long term, but not like long term in like the next couple of weeks, but like in the next couple of years. And so whenever you're making a decision, you first of all think like, okay, how would this affect the dojo? And you, on the other hand, also ask yourself, okay, how could I be wrong with this decision? So you basically just tell yourself like, okay, let's use an example here. Let's say you want to change from jiu-jitsu classes to karate classes. Whatever, just a random example. Although I think this might be kind of weird. Well, anyways. So let's say you want to do this. You firstly think like, okay, how would this affect my dojo in like a year? Like, are there more people who want to try out jiu-jitsu or karate? Or ask yourself all of these questions. Like really sit down and think about how would this affect my dojo in like a year. And then the next thing you do is you want to ask yourself why this decision is wrong. It could also be the first thing you do, but like it's probably also the main thing. Like just ask yourself what is wrong with this decision. If you take this decision, why am I wrong here? Why am I making the wrong decision here? Which is, I mean, it kind of is the same as long-term thinking, because you feel like, okay, in 1 year, what could go wrong? So these two things go kind of hand in hand. I don't know why I made this word gesture there, but forget about it. But like, just ask yourself what is wrong with this decision. Like, what is wrong if I change to, I think we said current classes, and just do this over and over again, and until there's nothing to go wrong. And then you sleep at night over it, and then you ask yourself again. And then you do this again, and then maybe you make the decision, depending on how big the decision is. Maybe don't do this for like the smallest decision, but like the smaller the decision, the smaller you can ask yourself. The bigger the decision, the more you should ask yourself what is wrong with that decision. And another thing, or another concept basically I want to give you, is that you basically want to eat your customers' pain. So to explain this to you, I want to give you an example of, for example, Amazon, of Jeff Bezos, because he has done this at like at like the peak, like the best level that you could do this in the world. So for you to basically start an e-commerce business to compete with Amazon, it would take you probably like 25 years at least. I would have to go through so much pain that you probably won't do it, and I mean, maybe you'll even fail. I don't know. But like Jeff Bezos, like when most people start, like, I don't know if you hear about them, like drop shipping or any e-commerce business, they usually build like a website and do some fancy stuff around it, and then maybe some people buy something, but then they're not even having the product at their home, so they're just getting the product shipped from China to the customer's home, which is probably taking like 1 to 2 weeks, so the customer's getting their products late. So it's just a headache for the customer, because then they have to text the store owner and ask them, etc., etc. And he's just gonna be like, well, I didn't expect that, etc. So it's just a headache for the client. Then the shipping costs might be way too high, etc. Well, let's say, like, let's use Amazon here. Amazon basically delivers your product in like 1 day. Like, you order today, it's like 6 p.m. Okay, it's there. It's tomorrow. There at like 11 a.m. Which is like the case. Like, it happened to me, I think, like already so often. Like, I was fucking surprised. Or even it says it on there, like it's gonna arrive in 2 days, and it arrived like 1 day earlier. So what they've done is they've taken the customer's pain away and taken the pain themselves. So they could also have like a shitty shipping, or don't ship it through their own systems and ship it through like DHL or something. But they've decided to build like just their own shipping system to make it easier for the customer, so the customer doesn't face any pain with it. But like they could also like we could reverse it now and like say Amazon didn't do this, so then the customer would face pain, and Amazon would probably not face that much pain, although they would have to handle all of the customer support tickets, etc. But topic for another day. So basically, what I'm saying here with this analogy, I hope you're still with me, is like either the business takes the pain and the customer doesn't take the pain, or the customer takes the pain and the business doesn't take the pain, or at the end of the day probably also takes the pain in the long term, which we're coming back to the long term thinking thing. So when you're thinking about your dojo, to get back to this, you basically want to make it as easy for your students as possible. So like if you're in the position of a student, like just think, okay, how can the student be here for as long as possible and could enjoy it as much as possible, and even think about completely unrealistic scenarios that are completely not in your capabilities right now, because you should always trust yourself that you can become the person that can create these scenarios for your students. I hope you get the point here. Besides that, if you're already owning a dojo, click the first link in the description. If you found this helpful, leave a like and subscribe. I'll see you next one.